Welcome to another step-by-step Artful Geek Girl video. Today it's Teacher Rita, a tag featuring Julie Nutty Rita stamp. To begin with, let's talk about some of the materials that I'm going to use in this video. I start out with a wood grain Pebbles Americana wood grain paper, color box tuxedo black cardstock, Simon Says Stamp Schoolhouse red cardstock, red plaid 12 by 12 paper. It's an old Creative Memories paper, decorative paper, a sheet of 9 by 12 Paycon manila tag board, and an extra tall watercolor tag, which I actually sell on Etsy. I have a small piece of craft mat as well as the world's best craft mat on my work surface. Then again, the Julie Nutting Rita stamp, as well as Echo Park's Through the Years stamps. They're kind of a calendar type stamp, and Dilution's basic background stamps. This is just the beginning of the materials that we're going to use. We'll follow that up with the Memento Tuxedo Black ink pad, or you can use the Ranger Archival Ink Jet Black ink pad. I think I used Ranger in this one. The Memento Chalk White Ink Dewdrop, and a Memento Rich Cocoa Ink Dewdrop, which I like to do my dolls, the outline stamp of the dolls in that rich cocoa ink. I'm also going to use a couple of Distress Ink minis, the Pumice Stone and the Salty Ocean. I'm going to do this to create a background on the watercolor tag. I love my Distress inks and I love the way that they blend. So you're also going to see me using a Tim Holtz mini blending tool. And in the bottom of my Distress inks, I store the foams. Now this is a little piece of craft mat, and this came about by mistake. You'll see another piece in the upper corner there. I actually cut through my original Ranger craft mat, so this is why I've cut it into little workable pieces that I use on my work surface. So I still love the Ranger craft mat, and as you see, I'm going to do that Tim Holtz blending motion where you start on the craft mat and you pull it in, and I'm starting with the pumice stone, and what I'm going to create is a school wall. And when I think of school, I always think of the rather dirty looking bottoms of the walls at school, all the wear and tear that they took from kids over the years. So I started with the pumice stone, giving it a gray look, and then the Salty Ocean up at the top, because up near the chalkboard it always was a little brighter, not as much wear and tear, not as much kicking and dirt and scuffing. And so you will see me blending that pumice stone and that Salty Ocean. When I finish that up, I'm going to take my 6x6 piece of wood grain decorative paper by Pebbles, and I'm just going to cut a 1/2 inch strip that's going to be the bottom of the chalkboard, and then I'm going to take that tuxedo black cardstock, my white gel pen, and I am going to trace around it in order to make the upper part of the tag, or the chalkboard part. And I'm just going to cut that out with my scissors. I'm just going to fussy cut that out. Then you're going to see, in order to cut that circle out, I'm going to get my We Are Memories Keepers nested circle dies and find the die that fits that perfectly, grab my Sizzix, and just quickly cut that out on my Sizzix Big Shot machine. It was the perfect size. I'm going to attach that black cardstock using score tape. It's 1/2 inch score tape, and I'm just going to cover that back so that it is stuck down really well. Trim off any edges that go past, and then take off all the backing and place it on that watercolor tag. This not only gives me my chalkboard, but it also adds a little dimension and heaviness to my tag, so that I'll be able to hang it up or put it on an easel. Then I put another piece of 1/2 inch score tape on the back of that wood grain paper, and as you can see, put it right across the middle there between my dirty wall and my chalkboard. And then I took the Memento white chalk ink and the blending tool and just kind of tried to make that look like a used chalkboard. Now I'm going to take my Dilutions Basic background stamps, and I'm going to take the jumbled alphabet and use the chalk white ink. And then I'm going to take the jumbled numbers and kind of stamp it over the edge there so that it's going off the side. Now that I've pretty much got my schoolroom background done, it's time for me to use my Julie Nutting stamp, and I love her paper doll stamps. Rita is a new one that I've gotten. She's now got a die for Rita, and I'm definitely going to have to get that, but today I'm going to fussy cut her, and as you can see, I'm using that Rich Cocoa Memento Dewdrop in order to do this. I like the brown against the manila better than the stark black, and that's just a personal preference. And I keep Rita on my board, and I'm going to use the white chalk ink on the red plaid paper, and you'll see me stamp that twice because I'm going to layer that to give it some dimension, and you'll see what I do. And then again, just the shoes and the top of her dress, and I did use black ink for that in order to stand out on that red paper. Now what you're going to see me do is grab some Copics, and this is a Carmine Copic pen. Actually, this is my cool gray Copic pen that I'm using here, and just doing a little bit of shading in certain areas. And you'll see me use the Carmine here on this red to give a little bit of shading as well. Didn't work as great as I thought it was going to. I need a darker gray Copic, but I don't have a huge amount of Copic colors, so I went with what I had, and then I used the warm gray as well to go in and touch it up a little bit just to give it a little bit of depth. And then I'm just going to fussy cut all of those pieces out. Now I'm going to go in with my Copics in Barely Beige and Cotton Pearl and do the skin tones, and then I use a sand and a dark suntan and then a copper in order to do the hair color, and I blend those all out to smooth out that hair color so that I've got the hair and skin tones done for Rita. And then just taking my Fiskars knife, I just cut out the areas inside of her arms there. Now it's time to glue everything together. So I'm going to use my Scotch quick dry adhesive, and as you can see, I've got it in an applicator bottle. It's got a very fine tip. I love this adhesive and I love that applicator. The applicator lets me get things done precisely, and the glue itself really grabs really quickly. So for paper piecing and doing stuff like this, it's perfect. I use it a lot for mixed media as well, but for these paper doll piecings, absolutely perfect. You'll see me put the red part of her dress down. Now, the only part that's really going to show on that is the belt in the end, as you'll see that I layer everything. For the top layer of her dress, I want some dimension, so you're going to see me use some Scotch foam tape here. Some of it I cut down to fit. I just want to pop that up off the dress. And the really cool thing is you'll see that I cut one piece at an angle so that it actually gives a look of a fold in the material of her dress, which is really cool, and it was actually totally accidental. Then I am going to adhere the top part of her dress that matches her skirt just above the cummerbund part there, the belt. So she's got a plain red belt, and the top of her dress matches her skirt. Now I'm just going to use that same adhesive to glue her on to the background of the tag. Touch up some spots where the adhesive came around, and I'm going to take those through the year stamps and choose the month of September and the white ink again, and stamp that on the board. Now I took some Tim Holtz Small Talk, and it says learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow, and I put that on the board. And then I also drew my own school books on some multimedia paper, and then I took Doodlebug, they're little enamel dots, they're called sprinkles, and I used it as an apple. I stuck it on the tag and then drew on a stem and a leaf, and then I used my glaze pen to make her shoes and her belt look shiny. Touching up some coloring on her arms there with the Copics. And I used a ribbon that looks like a ruler to add the final finishing touch to my tag. Going to do a little bit of shading around Rita and the school books, and there you have it. Teacher Rita. My tag for September and back to school. Visit the blog at artfulgeekgirl.com, and if you like this, give it a thumbs up.